Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. I, of course, am with Originator Success here with your daily mortgage rate update, the only place on the web where you guys get to join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, broadcasting to you on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're here this morning, say good morning. If you're watching on the replay, don't forget, give me a hashtag replay so I know that you're here. Head that or replay. Don't forget to give us Facebook, smash that like button, tag and hello friend, share us in a group. If you're on YouTube, head and subscribe, click that thumbs up, all that good stuff. Remember, if you'd like to sign up for our free email lock advice, get that to your inbox each and every weekday morning, www.ratelockadvice.com. Already sent that out this morning. You can also sign up for our text alerts, www.ratetextalerts.com. Last but not least, if you'd like to sign up for a reminder that I am going live, you can do that at hmmr.io/reminder. And I said last but not least, but I got one more for you. Check us out at originatorssuccess.com. Find out how we help you get loans from Google and social media. So let's say hi to all the live folks here this morning. If you're here this morning, say good morning. Great to see all of you here. First one on this morning was Mr. James Mahan. Good morning, sir. Great to have you here. Great to see you. Megan Lindberg, good morning. Mallory Fotiadis, Mike Tebow, Bill Stevens. So great that you guys join me on a regular basis. Many of you every day. I got to tell you, it makes a difference. You show up, which is why I show up. So Michael Love, good morning. Amy Blauser, Ron Siegel, great to see you, sir. National Cheesecake Day. And no meat here. You are not a meathead, but I'm going to show you what I mean by some of the meatheads, dude. I just get aggravated with people these days. It's so funny. But we'll talk more about that in a minute. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff. We got John Jones, Mike Morano, Deb Dickinson. Mike says, surprise quarter point cut tomorrow. I say no way. And else does too. In fact, we'll be talking more about that a lot in a moment. But why do you think there might be a cut tomorrow, Mike? Let me know. Silly thing. Let me know why you think there might be a surprise cut. John Jones, good morning. Venkat, good morning, sir. Great to have you here. All right, let me get back to my captions. Here we go. So what are rate sheets going to do today? Well, rate sheets are likely going to be flat today. If we take a look right now at mortgage bonds, they are currently down 3 basis points, 3 brutal basis points on the day. We're going to get the data at 10 a.m. though. We're going to get the JOLTS job opening labor turnover survey data coming from the BLS. We will get that at 10 a.m. We're also going to get consumer confidence data at 10 a.m. And that means we could see a little bit of movement on bonds. We might see them go down, another 10 basis points or go up 10 basis points, which will bring us into slightly positive territory or a little more negative territory. So basically, what does that really mean for us? Not much. And why is it not? Yeah, that's not terrible. I'll go with this one. We're not likely to see any big movements. The Fed meeting is tomorrow, right? Fed meeting concludes tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time, and the Fed policy statement, of course, expectations that the Fed will keep rates the same. Let me do a side-by-side on this. Whoop! There we go. And let me bring this in for you like this. Okay, so I want to go over a few different things. I'll come back to the chart, but basically, Mike, you think so? Markets say 95.9% unlikely to see that move. Ron Siegel also says that would totally shock the market. Markets hate surprises. That could tank the market if they did that. And I agree with Ron. It's the reason why they go into so much, pomp and circumstance about the fact that they're setting up the cut to come in September is because they don't want to shake the trees. So let's go ahead and good morning, Brandy. Good morning, Jerry Avila. Let's go ahead and take a look at the article from Nick Timiraos, the Fed Whisperer here. Investors on alert for Fed signals of a September rate cut. Officials were burned earlier this year by hotter inflation, but new risks to the labor market have helped rebuild the groundwork for cuts. If you had to summarize everything, I think that is an awesome sentence. And it really does kind of just summarize where we are at today and why tomorrow's meeting is expected to be such a big deal. we were expecting as we came out of last year. Remember, if we look at mortgage-backed securities here, look at where we were last October. When we look down at the bottom here, okay, the lower that these lines go, the worse mortgage rates got. This was October of last year. That was the bottom point of where mortgage-backed securities were. They were all the way down here. When it became clear that the Fed was ready to pivot, that there were no more Fed rate hikes on the table, and there was talk of rate cuts to come in 2024, the markets then turned. See this? We had this huge move upward. We started over here in October. We hit kind of our highest point over here in December. Now, we were expecting to come into the year. Markets had been pricing rate cuts to start as soon as March, and they were pricing in 6 cuts on the year, if you'll remember. Now, we started to lose ground, though, and December was the high point because the inflation readings at the beginning of the year showed that inflation was heating back up and not continuing to cool down. That was a problem. That scared the Fed. So we saw that the Fed held off, talked about higher for longer for quite a while. Let's go back to the article, kind of go into this a little bit deeper, right? Oh, no, that's a Bloomberg. We want Wall Street. Okay, here you go. So now, Fed officials release their policy statement at 2 p.m. Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaks at his news conference at 2:30 p.m. Here's a look at the 4 most important questions ahead of the decision. All right. Number 1, where do officials set the bar for a September interest rate cut? Right. Officials are expected to revise their post-meeting statement in ways that hint that a rate cut in September is more likely than not. They're not going to come out and say we're ready to cut rates in September. Even at the press conference, they're not going to come out and say we're going to cut rates in September. Markets are going to be looking like, and look at this, seemingly trivial wordsmithing changes will be meaningful in framing the outlook for a September cut. Now, that kind of goes along with what Ron said here, that it would totally shock the market if the Fed were to just go ahead and cut rates. They changed little words here and there, and that's how much of a difference it can make to the markets on what's going on. Look for things like this. The first paragraph of the statement, which describes recent inflation and labor market developments. Then the second paragraph, which describes the balance of risks between bringing inflation back to the Fed's 2% goal and maintaining a strong labor market. Remember, the Fed has a dual mandate. They're supposed to maximize employment and maintain price stability. They're working to get back to price stability, which is, in their definition, the personal consumption expenditures, the PCE, inflation gauge at 2%. What did it just come in at? 2.6, right? So it just came in at 2.6 core, 2.5 for the headline, if I remember correctly. We're very close to that 2%, and it's been coming down again. That's what they're looking for. This part is about the labor market. Third paragraph, which includes key language known as forward guidance, spells out what officials are looking for before they cut rates. They're going to say more about how they're looking for continued signs of inflation, blah, blah, blah. We're going to see a lot of that, and that's going to set things up for Powell's press conference. So here you go. Some analysts think that Powell opened the September cut of action. So what's going to happen tomorrow. And the rates tend to move at about 3:15 p.m. when that happens Eastern time. If the inflation news is okay between now and September, then they can say, okay, we're confident, we're on track, we're going to start cutting rates, according to William English, former Fed advisor. So why are officials moving closer to cutting rates? This is important. Earlier this year, Fed officials were looking at cutting rates on the basis of their inflation news. First, surprisingly strong readings in February and March torpedoed those plans. Again, if we go back to looking at mortgage-backed securities, we saw great improvement up to December. January, it was not there. February and March, we hit our lows. We've since recovered quite a bit of that, but this is where we were back in April, right, when we were seeing that data come in that way. So that's why we saw rates go back up. And then since then, rates have moved back down. So what will happen from here? It's very unlikely that we have to worry about seeing rates move up with any kind of significance. In fact, I think what we are going to see is improve between now and the end of the week. I think we're going to get a nice bump. I'm going to change this to 3 months so you can see the chart a little bit. I think we're going to get a nice bump where these will move higher after the Fed meeting and after the Fed press conference. I think Thursday we'll see another little bit of improvement. And I think Friday, when that jobs data comes out, as long as the jobs data is not surprisingly strong, we'll see another move that will improve rates to end the week. So we're in a very good spot here. That's why as it sits down at the bottom, you want to be floating. The only loans you would consider locking right now are loans that have high debt to income ratios or some kind of a concern that if that we were to see rates move higher, that they would that they could not get the loan done, right? Which those loans should never be floating in that scenario and lose the, but be floating right now and continue to be floating. And seeing where we get as we get into this data here and go into it. Going through the other things on this market, by the way, why not cut rates now? What I said in the comment about meatheads, there are just everybody here. Okay. Everybody here. Investor reminds me of the good old obedient Jerome Powell will come through for the Democrats, anything to help them with the election and 4 years employment for him. My comment is now waiting for approval because I said, pull up your pants, your ignorance is showing. And then, if rates dropped in September, it's because old Joe told Jerome to cut them. No, it's not. Guys, I hope that nobody is buying into this idea here. There's always an argument of politics permeating through everything, right? Number one, Powell has been in his position. This is his second term. He was brought in by Trump, and he was elected or reappointed by Biden. If Harris were to win, if Trump were to win, either way, he's very likely to keep his job. Trump won the day. Powell's been good for the stock market, and that is one of the reasons why I say Trump would keep him anyway. I don't know that Powell necessarily wants a third appointment, though. This is a rough job, and as much as people love to pile on him, I think he's done a fantastic job post-pandemic, and even during the pandemic, dealing with all of the changes in monetary policy, not fiscal policy, but monetary policy. That was... Or do I have my policies backwards? Ron, do I have my policies backwards? Who does fiscal? Who does monetary? Monetary policy is the Fed. Fiscal policy is the government, right? Did I get them backwards? Anyway, the Powell and the rest of the Fed members very well getting through the pandemic. And as much as inflation, they said it was transitory because they expected it to be based on what, the expectations were. But all the rules have changed, and we've seen that. I think they've done a great job. If they were going to have made cuts, they would have done it already. They would be doing it in this July meeting ahead of the election. They're not going to do it in September, right before the election, and you're not going to get that much of a boost from it. It takes months for these things to really trickle into the economy. I think they would have done it in July. They would have done it in September. Thank you. Fiscal is government, monetary is Fed. So they were dealing with fiscal policy and adjusting their monetary policy. Thank you. I don't know why I was having a brain fart on that one. So anyway, taking a look at what we got going on here, everybody's just again and again, just in time for the November elections, blah, 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 blah. And again, here's my other comment on hold. How about you use a little thing called Google Stop Being Lazy? What a bunch of snowflakes in the comment section that my comments are, they don't get through. That's why I generally don't leave comments, because my comments are snarky. Snarky comments get blocked because we have little girly bitch social. And yet people say, I don't know. I didn't directly attack anybody, but read this article if not. I'm going to wrap it up for today. We're at 15 minutes, y'all. Hope y'all are having a fantastic day. Again, float. Ron, what do you think you think we're going to see rates go down by the end of the week? I think we're going to see rates go down. What do all the rest of you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think rates are going to go down? And how much do you think rates are going to go down by the end of the week? I think we're going to see about a quarter point is pretty solid in rate, not pricing, of course. But that's what I think. So, all right, my friends, that is it for me. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Ron said, I was recently reminded the stock market generally drops when the rate cycle changes to dropping. If they drop in September, we can expect a market drop, which would not be good for the incumbent party. I don't know. The stock market generally drops when the rate cycle changes. I don't know that the stock market will drop. But that's another conversation. I don't want to get too long. But that's a good point. Thanks for bringing that out, and thanks for pointing that out. So, all right, y'all. I'm gonna wrap it up. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Again, we'll be talking more, a little more Fed stuff again. So, all right, take care, everybody. Bye bye.